Good evening, everyone. Good evening, all. Come on into the Real Money Coach Show. It is Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, and y'all know what we do at 2 p. Or did I say 8 p.m. Eastern. And y'all know what we do at 8 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday night. We have the Real Money Coach Show. And so put in the chat where you are watching from. What part of the country, what part of the world that you are joining us. We love to have you as we continue our series today. We're going to continue our series about Project 2025. And it's so interesting. This past week, I was at a master class. Some of you may have saw it on social media, Master P Master Class. Took place in Dallas, and it just a lot of people are interested. And as I run into people, my wife running into people, it's like, what is Project 2025? I heard of it, and you may have even seen some of it being mentioned at the national convention, the DNC. And so what I'm really proud of is that we're digging into it. We're giving people more information about it than probably you ever had thought that you would get. But there's so much there to unpack. And so we're happy to do that. We're happy to continue to unpack that information. Tonight, we have a enrolled agent. And for those of you who don't know, I'll tell you now, enrolled agent is someone who has the credentials to represent you, just like an attorney if you were going before the Internal Revenue Service. And so our resident agent on our team is Timothy Day. And so he'll be joining us here in a little bit. And we're going to continue to unpack and give you more information about Project 2025. This particular topic that we're going to talk about, taxes tonight, is found in chapter 22. And if you just Google you can find a lot of information. But before we get all into that, hello, Alice Martin. Nice for you to be here with us. Before we get into all that, let's bring on my co-host, Michelle Mitchell. Michelle, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Tony?
Good. Michelle, I've been seeing some of your posts and stuff, girl. You got some things going. I feel like this momentum you have. Tell me how you feel.
Well, we're trying to create momentum over here. So yeah.
Job well done. Job well done.
Thank you.
Lauren doing her post and you doing your post and that type of thing. Yeah. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about. Did you watch all of the DNC or some of it last
I watched some of it. I caught bits and pieces of it.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I didn't even see Kamala's.
You didn't see hers. Okay. It was good. It was good.
I did not. I got a phone call right before that, and I kind of missed it. So
kind of missed it. Well, yeah. I'm sure you can go back and see clips of it.
Yes.
But they had some great speakers, a lot of momentum coming out of, speaking of momentum, right? A lot of momentum for Kamala Harris and her campaign coming out of, the DNC last week. And I'm looking forward to seeing some of the debate.
So am I.
Yeah. And what they are really negotiating over is a muted mic or unmuted mic.
Yes.
So it's kind of interesting to me that his campaign wants the mics muted, and they're saying, no, unmute the mic.
I wonder why. To control, I don't know.
They're trying to control their candidate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The debate is a debate, right? It's a two-way conversation.
Correct.
At least that's what my kids were taught when they were in debate team.
So let them debate. I have a feeling his campaign doesn't want him going toe-to-toe with her.
I can see that.
I can understand that. So it will be interesting to see how it all pans out. The one thing that's for sure is that this is an awfully important election.
I believe so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So And you know how we say every 4 years, this is the most important election of our lifetime.
I know, right?
But
But
this,
I really do believe democracy is on the line. Um, I really do believe that. Like, what type of world do we want in the future? Do we want to maintain this experiment called democracy, or not? And
mm,
the country gets to decide. That's what I think.
well, and to me, there's also this drastic contrast in leadership,
Yes.
and what we
Hmm.
expect in our leaders,
Hmm.
what we expect that to look like, and who we want in terms of integrity and in ethics and all that type of thing. And so, I guess I heard someone say it like this: is like, okay, we have two candidates running for office, and which one would you let keep your kids?
Right.
Right?
I
Which
know,
one would
right?
you let? It's just that simple. Which one would you let babysit your kids? Yeah.
Hmm.
So, in interesting times.
Very, very interesting.
So what have you thought about this whole series we've done so far on Project 2025?
I mean, so far it's been enlightening. What they think. I think what they think about us.
Mm,
The, their character is showing.
yeah.
So that's what I think.
So this live TV, if you need to take a break, get your thoughts. I was going to hand you a cough drop, but just
Sorry.
didn't work virtually. But
I know. Sorry.
yeah, no, you're good.
I'm
But
good. I'm good. But yeah, that's what I think. Characters showing, if you want to go back to the 30s, 40s, 50s and how women were treated,
mm,
like from a woman's standpoint, like I enjoy my independence. I enjoy the freedoms that I have to make decisions for myself. So, um, I think growing up in the 80s, we were coming out of that, and it's just been ingrained in me to be independent. And
mm.
even though I've been married for 32 years, I am an independent woman. You can ask my husband that.
I did. He didn't agree. No, I'm just.
Whatever. So I believe in that. And the way I raise my daughter is for her to be independent, have her own opinions and thoughts about things and not allow people to, control what she does. Like she is able and capable of making decisions for herself. And that's how we raised her. That's how we raised our son.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not gender specific in our family. So I would like to maintain our independence,
Yeah.
um and being able to decide for ourselves what we want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
I think that's so important. As you mentioned, having the independence and the freedom to make our
Mhm.
own decisions. And when we start taking away a person's rights,
Mhm.
where do you draw the line?
Exactly.
Where do you draw the line?
Where do you
Well,
draw the
and I know one of the big controversial issues is, reproductive rights.
line?
Obviously, it's a big one. And I think regardless of me, the whole abortion issue. Good evening, Sheila.
Hey, Sheila.
I don't. I'm not a proponent of
Right.
it, but I am a proponent of someone having their right to choose.
Right.
Um, and God has given us that right, right? God has
God
given.
has given us choice. Exactly. I had this whole discussion with somebody last week, and he gave us choice. He gave
Right.
us choice for a reason, because he could have ruled like, you just can't do, you not gonna do that. you know
I am not going to allow you to do
I'm
that.
not
I'm
going
not
to
going to
allow you
allow
to
you to
do
do that.
that.
But he
Right.
gave us a free choice of will that we
He
could
did.
choose between what is right and what is wrong.
Right. We can
And
choose him or not choose him, and he gave us life.
yeah,
Right.
right. So,
So
and that's my feelings on it. I mean, my feelings are is, and I one of the quotes that I like about Martin Luther King, he said that you can't legislate a man's heart,
Right.
and you can't have laws that will tell people what to do. And when we shouldn't put our right or wrong on someone else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, and so I think that's it. I think that's very important. And
Mm-hmm.
and there's so many, all the things that we see, the different things that we see on TV, they are really, there's surface issues, right?
Yes.
There's so much deeper than what we see in terms of, people holding signs or saying, this or that. It's all much deeper than that.
Oh yeah, for
And
sure.
so it will be very interesting in the next 70 days or so to
Mm-hmm.
see how all of this pans out and all that good stuff. And so I've actually recommended for a couple of people to go back and watch our two previous shows, one on the Department of Education, and then the other one last week where we were talking about criminal justice. So
Right.
um, so I do just really recommend people go back and because it
I
was
do
great
recommend
information.
that.
Yeah.
I do recommend.
Hello, Ruth Bell. Thank you for being here this evening. And so tonight, like we mentioned, we're going to go into the taxes and
Mm-hmm.
what's there in terms of Department of Revenue. Um, and as I mentioned, we have Timothy Day, enrolled agent with the IRS and the owner of Day One Financial. And so we're going to take a couple commercial breaks. Hello, Kimberly and Dr. Anita Harris as well. We're going to take a couple commercial breaks and we'll come back with Timothy and we'll let him educate us a little bit on some of the tax things that are in Project 2025.
Awesome.
Take control of your finances today with The Real Money Coach. Our free financial wellness checkup offers personalized insights and strategies to secure your financial future. Don't miss out on the clarity and confidence you deserve. Visit www.therealmoneycoach.com now. That's www.therealmoneycoach.com right now to start your journey towards financial freedom. Your future self will thank you.
Do you have passion for your business but feel like your finances are falling short? Running a business takes more than a great idea. It takes a solid financial plan. Mitchell Consulting can help you turn your passion into profit with their financial advisory services. Get the financial guidance your business needs. Contact Mitchell Consulting to learn more about their passion to profit capabilities.
Well, Michelle, tell everyone how they can get a hold of you on social media and etc.
Sure. On social media, on Instagram, you can find us at Mitchell_consulting. And you can go to our website at mitchellconsultingservice.com.
There you go. And it's everything on social media at The Real Money Coach and therealmoneycoach.com. Michelle, as you were talking about, and I think about you whenever I see this, that passion to profit.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was at the boot camp with Master P, the first P to wealth is passion.
Yeah.
That's his first P. And, a couple of things that really stood out to me about is number one, just reading this book and being around him for the second time, he sold out for the Lord. I mean, and that's really pretty cool to see. And great book. I've been reading it. Just a great story. But the first P is passion, and that's
the first P is passion.
That's the girl.
I know, right?
And guess what the last one is?
Profit.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's passion, power, product, promotion, and profit.
Yeah.
So so I was like, that's
I bookended. Right?
You bookended. So that's pretty cool. So let's do this. Let's bring Timothy Day on. Timothy, how are you?
Good evening. To the Real Money Coach family.
Yeah. Yeah, you're one of the real money coaches. We got 3 real money coaches on the screen tonight. So, man, always good to have you on the show and to share your expertise. Normally, I say a little bit about the different changes. This is in chapter, as I mentioned, chapter 22 of the 900-page document that is known as Project 2025. And the tagline on it is the presidential transition plan. So
That's funny.
yeah, that's what it is. And one of the things I liked about Waltz, the candidate for vice president, he says, listen, no one puts together a plan without using it. That when you put together a game plan, you plan to use it, right?
You plan to execute the plan.
You plan to execute the plan.
That's right.
And so we need to be aware. So Timothy, I was just going to let you take some time and share with us your viewpoints, what you saw in there, and we can chime in as you kind of go through any points that you might have. And by the way, as I look at that, I love that day one financial. Day one financial. Anita Baldwin, thank you for being here from New York as well. So Timothy, tell us what you see in there.
Well, we'll start off, first of all, I think, the individual income tax section is probably one that most of us probably would have some interest in. And one of the things that, as I look at the plan that they are proposing reducing the tax rates to either 15% tax rate or 30% tax rate.
Right.
So why is that significant? Our current tax structure is such that we have a graduated tax table. So, your first $11,000 of first money that's taxed is taxed at a 10% rate. The next level of money is taxed at a 12% rate, 22%. It goes all the way up to a 37% tax rate. Okay. So when you think about having 2 tax rates, 15% and 30%, it sounds like it's simplified, but it really means a tax increase for those in the lower tax bracket. Because their monies that was previously taxed at 10% or 12% under this new plan would be taxed at 15%. So that results in a tax increase for those individuals. Likewise, any income that's above the threshold that's at the 22% mark would then be reduced down to the 15%. So there could be some savings, but I did a little research, and the average salary for U.S. citizens is about $56,000 a year.
Okay.
That is within the threshold that there would be no savings for those individuals going to a 15% tax rate, because the increase of the 10% to 15 and the 12 to 15 is greater than that reduction from 22 down to the 15.
Right.
So I did a quick analysis. Someone that had taxable income about $58,000 going to the 15% tax bracket would mean an increase of $700 in taxes.
So the math and don't math.
Yeah.
What they're saying.
Math ain't
right?
mathing.
It ain't math.
The math ain't mathing, right?
Yeah.
Well, and then I think that there's, in a simplified structure, there's also elimination of some of the credits, like earned income credit, child care credit, some of these type of things that help working families from a tax standpoint would go away.
Yeah, they talk about an elimination of credits and elimination of certain deductions.
Yeah.
So, deductions help to reduce your taxable income. Credits help to offset your tax liability. So if you take away those things, the net result is an increased tax.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So if you're not able to deduct to reduce your income, nor take the credit to reduce your tax liability, the net result is a higher tax.
For most of us.
Yes.
So what about the folks on the other end? I mean, the highest tax bracket you said was 37%.
Right.
So
they have a cutoff at the Medicare there's a certain amount of dollars that you can earn and still pay Social Security taxes on. And I think that's about $168,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. So that's sort of where the threshold is to go into the 30% tax bracket. So for those individuals that are making, above that, say $168,000, they would be in a position to perhaps receive a tax reduction, in their taxes. If they're in a 37% tax bracket, then that will go down to 30%.
Timothy, is that individual or is that jointly?
Yeah, that was exactly my question.
They have different. That was the individual amount.
Individual,
That was the individual amount. Yeah, if you're filing jointly, then
right,
it's a different number. I don't know what that number is right offhand. Oftentimes it's like double the individual.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
but that was the individual rate.
So for people who make way over that threshold,
yes,
I mean, this is
huge savings.
A huge savings.
Mm-hmm.
Huge savings.
Yeah.
So somebody's making, 250, 500,000, something like that. I mean, they're going to see substantial tax savings.
Absolutely.
Because they're going to automatically drop by 7% on all of that, on all that income.
Yes.
Right.
So
but they'll eliminate deductions. So yeah.
But see, I think though, when you talk about eliminating the deductions, the higher your income is, the less impact those deductions have on your taxable income. And so eliminating it for the higher income people won't have the impact that it has on eliminating them for the lower income.
Yeah.
Because it's a smaller percent of
it's
your
a smaller.
salary.
Yeah.
So so it will definitely result in and that's when you see some of the commercials saying that the tax bill, the tax plan from Donald Trump, Project 2025, will help the billionaires the most, and everyday working folks like us are going to pay the price for it.
Yeah.
Right.
And so to add to that, on the billionaire side, a lot of their income is through investments.
Mm-hmm.
So, you hear stories about, highly wealthy individuals having a tax rate that's less than their secretary, that type of thing.
Because that's what what's his name says. Why am I drawing a blank on his name? You know what I'm talking about? The investor.
Buffett.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett. Yeah.
Buffett says that he pays a smaller tax rate than his secretary does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now the capital gains rate is 15%, and it could go up as high as 20%.
Okay.
So they're looking at changing that to just a flat 15%.
Mm.
So it won't go up.
Right.
Now, are there, with that investment, that that long-term tax rates, are there exemptions or anything in that area that they're looking at that you can see?
But I didn't see anything that spoke to any exemptions in that area. But there is one other thing that I would like to bring out in that section about this net investment tax. So in addition to the 37%, that if you meet certain thresholds, now, if your investments are large enough to subject you to the net investment tax, that's an additional 3.8%. And so they're looking at doing away with that as well.
Mm.
So
basically you're going from a 23.8% investment tax rate down to 15.
Yeah.
That's almost 50%.
Yeah.
That's quite a decrease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who has the most investments?
The wealthy.
Exactly.
And institutional investors, very wealthy.
Investors,
yeah, and that's why a lot too, when you get at that level, a lot of their compensation is given in the form of stock.
Exactly.
Stock options, right? So you may have a CEO of a Fortune 500 company making 500,000, but 250,000 of it may be stock in the company.
Yeah.
Right.
And so then all they got to do is hang on to that for a year, and instead of paying a
Long-term.
37%
Yeah.
tax rate on it, they pay a 15%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Becomes a long-term capital gain subject to.
Right. So if they hang on to that for a year and take it out, they're going to pay a much lower tax rate than they would. And even under the new system, well, it's currently that way under the system today, but that would seem to continue in the new system and even be a sweeter deal for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
So now, wait a minute. So now what happens is for very wealthy people, you're going to go from a 37% tax rate down to a 30. That's 7.5%. And then you're going to save another 7.5% on your long-term capital gains as well.
Yeah.
So my figuring in my math said that's 15% tax cut. For the okay.
It's interesting. I read something about the new CEO for Starbucks and his new compensation package.
Mm-hmm.
So I just did a little Google search, and he's getting $23 million in shares for his bonus.
Right.
In shares.
In shares.
So, okay.
Right.
Hang on to that for a year.
Exactly.
And if you even cash it out in a year, you're going to be paying
much less tax. Yeah.
Much less in taxes.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Very interesting.
So,
But then
mathing for them. Yeah.
Right.
But then it gets even sweeter, on the corporate side.
Okay.
Under the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, the corporate tax rate was a flat 21%. And remember, in that particular bill, the corporate tax rate did not have a sunset date. So it was evergreen to remain at 21%.
21%.
So they're proposing in Project 2025 to reduce that from a 21% tax to an 18% tax. So I did a little research. So I looked at the Dow Jones 30. So the 30 companies in Dow Jones. So I looked at what were their net earnings for 2023.
So for those who may not know, Dow Jones is your 30 largest publicly traded companies in the United States.
Yeah. Okay. So like Coca-Cola, Walt Disney, Nike, IBM,
The 30 largest. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me what your research showed you.
So research showed that if I add up the net income from those 30 companies, their net income totaled $471.6 billion.
Okay.
At 21%, their tax would have been $99 billion. At 18%, the tax is $84 billion. So that's like a $14 billion reduction.
Right.
Okay.
Now, who's in a better position to pay the tax?
Right.
The corporations.
The corporations.
Right. And just so people understand the way government works, government collects taxes so that they can fund programs and infrastructure and the military, right?
Yes.
Right.
So if you have how much billion less?
14 billion.
14 billion less. That they got to cut it from somewhere. What programs are they cutting?
Well, and okay, so and y'all who are watching, I know we nerding out, right?
Yeah.
I know we're nerding out on you tonight, right? But it's important that you understand the bottom line is so there is discretional spending and non-discretional spending when it comes to our government. The non-discretional spending is Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, interest on the national debt, which make up over 90% of every dollar collected by the Internal Revenue Service. And so now we then have this other piece where we got the rest of that money is what we fight over, right? That's what we talk about, what programs. And you better believe that if there's going to be those type of cuts, they got to make up for it somewhere. That's where I think the individuals are playing more. They're gonna take the few, the wealthy, reduce their taxes, and then the average Joe, right, is going to pay more in taxes to make up for those reductions. And then, like you said, Michelle, taking money away from programs that probably benefit the
people who
lower
got the tax
income,
increase.
the marginal communities, like like the African American and Hispanic community, even probably some of the programs that support women health, community health. All these programs really could suffer under this new tax code because it just won't be as much money available.
Right. Yeah.
So should we really be paying attention to this stuff?
Oh. Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Wow. And then, I also was reading a little bit about the estate and gift tax exemptions on there. Did you look at that at all?
Yeah, I looked at some of that. The estate tax section, there's a huge exclusion right now for estate taxes. I want to say it's like $15 million in terms of exclusion for estate taxes. I don't recall what they're.
Yeah, they're looking to. Okay, this is what I said. They're looking to increase the state and gift tax exemption because I think it's around 11 million, and I think they're going to increase it to 12.9 million, and then they're going to also reduce the tax rate to 20%. I don't know what it is currently, but it looks like on large estates that there also will be a reduction in the tax
estate tax. Yeah.
So let me do this because I think this is a good point to I want to put a pin in this right here. Folks, if you're watching this, that's why you need to make an appointment with me, because one of the things that we do majorly is show you how to shift your income from being taxable to being tax-free.
Exactly.
And that's going to be more important going forward than it ever has been, regardless of what. If you're at the lower levels, you can say, well, if you're at lower income levels, it's not going to have as much impact on you because you're only paying 10% on your income. Well, now you're going to be paying 15%, and you're going to have more of your income being taxed. So it's even more important to utilize the tax code, putting your especially your retirement funds into something that's going to be tax-free. Now, to make a point here, also, when we talk about estate taxes, and we're talking about 11 million currently, 12 million exclusion, it does not count your 401k, your TSP, your pension does not count in that exclusion. That's going to be taxed regardless of how much it is. If it's $1,000, they're going to pay taxes on it, right? So, so it's very important to schedule an appointment with us. We need to talk about how we can help you mitigate some of the taxes. And I tell people this is it's kind of like insurance, right? Well, I guess it's insurance, but it's like you can't wait for your house to be on fire to buy a policy. You got to start putting those things in plan now before the house is on fire.
Yeah. But Tony, also to your point, for those that are in the lower and middle class group, that tax increase is much more burdensome because when they go to the grocery store, to the gas station, they don't get any type of discount.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we already seen that they're going to have a higher tax liability because that 10% is now going to be paid at 15, the 12 is going to be paid at 15. So they're going to have paid more in taxes. So that means there's less disposable income.
Right.
But everything that they purchase,
So you mean to tell me I can't go to the gas station and say, hey, I'm in a higher tax bracket, so I need my gas prices to be lower.
Right. They're gonna laugh at you.
Exactly right. Yeah.
So the impact of the percentage that I pay for everyday living expenses,
yes,
you're saying for people who are lower income, that's going to have a greater impact than someone who's wealthy that may not feel it at the pump.
Exactly right.
Anyone else?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Never, didn't really think about that part of it. So anything else in there that you saw that was?
Yes, there was another section that they talked about benefits. You know how most employers, as if you have health insurance, they get to deduct that. The employer may subsidize that health insurance. You as the employee might have a portion that you pay, but that's oftentimes subsidized by your employer. So they're talking about transitioning away from that and just basically increasing one's salary to basically buy those services. I'm assuming on the open market. They didn't say that specifically, but the group that's proposing this, are the ones that want to do away with the Affordable Care Act.
Yes. So there's this push to privatization. This is one of the underlying messages. We talked about it
in the education.
We talked about it in the education, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about doing away with some of the tax dollars, giving vouchers, really pushing privatization of education, doing away with the Department of Education, privatizing student loans, right? So no more Fannie Mae, Sally Mae, all that. So we're gonna push that into the private sector. We talked about last week the criminal justice system. We talked about prisons for profit, right? So there's the push that we're going to create more need for prisons and jails. And what we're going to do to supply that is we're going to have privately run prisons for profit that would do that. And then tonight, we're talking about the privatization of more things. And so it's this big push towards what sounds like is big business.
Yeah.
It is. And they all getting a tax break.
Yes.
So you're saying we're going to push it towards big business.
Yes.
And then we're going to give the businesses a tax break.
A tax break. Yeah.
And, if anyone has ever had to buy life insurance off the open market, it's not cheap. I mean, health insurance, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not to mention a lot of the things that people don't realize, because a lot of people now that are what I call, even mom and pop businesses, for years, it has been, okay, if I want to go out on my own, start my own business, many people had to wait until they were 65 when they were eligible for Medicare because they didn't know how they would take care of the health piece. Exactly. And it's not the thing about health insurance, folks, it's not necessarily the premiums. The premiums is tough enough, but it is, if I have to self-insure, what is that going to cost me? The risk of not having the insurance. And so with the Affordable Health Care Act, which I thought it was interesting, Obama's one-liner, right?
Yeah.
As it becomes popular, they don't call it Obamacare anymore, but the Affordable Health Care Act leveled some of that out. So if you're working with one of your clients, both of you, work with businesses, and now they want to go out on their own, they want to get off of the corporate plantation, or however way you want to say it. Right. One of the big issues is always, how do I get health insurance? But under the Affordable Health Care Act, now I can get health insurance. I don't necessarily have to worry about pre-existing conditions,
Correct.
and it's accessible and more affordable.
Yeah.
But if you do away with it, it's going to make it harder for the small businesses to make those leaps of faith, leaving their employer and their employer's plan and going out getting something on their own.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also remember, the Affordable Care Act also did away with the lifetime limits. Remember, there used to be lifetime limits that, maybe an insurance company would pay like $1 million in claims,
Right.
and that you hit that threshold,
They stopped
oh,
paying.
well, yeah,
You got to find somebody else, right?
exactly.
Good luck. Good luck
Yeah.
doing that because of your history, right?
Yeah.
So, and
Well, also, like those high deductible plans, if you get a plan that's, you got a $5,000 deductible,
All right.
you don't have any coverage until you pay the first $5,000, basically.
right.
Yes.
Pray for good health, right? So, yeah.
But then our people are probably living in food deserts where they're surrounded by fast food places, the things that are just not healthy for you.
Which contributes to your ill health.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then, of course, the prescription drugs,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
The cost of prescription drugs and all those type of things as well. So there's a lot of dynamics to this.
It really is.
I think, not just because, it's Real Money Coach, but I think everything, boy, is financial, right? Everything is financial. When you look at all of these things, it's who's going to benefit from it, who's going to suffer the most.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is also, this is kind of a little bit off topic, which makes me just really kind of irk a little bit at our whole election system, because when you think about it, it's not the popular vote that gets you even in office. That's
Right.
presidential.
Mhm.
So the things that we're talking about probably affect more of the population
Mm-hmm.
than anybody else, right? The majority of the population, the things that we're talking about tonight, the things we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, affect more of the population. But the popular vote means nothing if you don't win the right states.
Right.
Right.
And so, very interesting dynamic. And I know that, there's been even today lawsuits filed in Georgia about some of the election, things and processes. So it's crazy. It's crazy out here in these streets, these
crazy.
political streets.
It really is.
And so, so we really need to be a part of the process and understanding that. And that's again the reason why we even did these series. And Timothy, I appreciate what you done brought down. You done broke it down for us tonight. Anything else? What else is in there that maybe we ought to be a little bit concerned with?
Well, like I say, as you talk about the masses of us that will be impacted by this, I mean, when you think about the whole process of voting, we need to make sure we vote our interest. Sometimes we get caught up on one particular issue and, that type of thing. But there are other things that we need to take into account when we think about casting our vote. And for those that maybe are not feeling strongly either way about either candidate, to me, I look at it this way. At the end of the day, one of the two are going to be elected.
Right.
Right.
Your choice to vote for someone outside of that, independent, all of that other stuff is like it's a vote that really didn't count almost.
Right. Like if you're voting for an independent candidate that's not going to win, then you I guess you've wasted your vote. I mean, that's your right.
That's exactly.
And I guess that
you actually voted for the person that did win.
Yeah, you did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I know in big news this week was, Kennedy dropping out of the race.
Yeah.
And that type of thing. And I haven't really paid much attention to Cornel West in his campaign and what he's doing. I know he's changed a little bit. He was libertarian, and then now he's independent. I don't know what his stance is and how far he will continue to run. Now, I like the brother. I mean, the brother, but I don't know what the purpose of it that he's doing. So, but yeah, it's nuts. It really is.
But also, I know we are talking about, Project 2025 and the impact that it can have. But on election day, there's more than the top of the ticket. And It is very important that you understand who all the proposals and who's at the local levels, because that's really going to impact your life more than anything. Because
you better pay attention from the PTA to the city council to the governor, all the way up.
Do your diligence.
Exactly.
And really figure out who's on your ballot and what they stand for. And if it's in alignment with the values that you have.
Exactly.
Well, what I was thinking about is Timothy was saying is that sometimes we get so passionate about one particular, like he was saying, one particular item, right? Maybe it's reproductive rights, maybe it's the border, maybe it's whatever it is. But you got to look at the totality of the whole thing, because if you make your decision based on one, like this is just what Timmy was saying, you make your decision on who you can vote on based on one item, right? So you mean that because of this one thing, you're going to vote this way and throw away the other 99. You don't care what happens with the other 99. But the reality is, you living in that 99%. We're going to have to deal with whatever consequences come. And again, to your point, Michelle, that's all the way from local government all the way up. And as Dr. Benita Harris said, vote up and down the ticket. Up and down the ticket. Sheila talked about good information tonight, the rainmakers in the house. And so we got all this stuff going. And to me, we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to cast our vote in the most intelligent, informed way that we can, and understanding that they do not want us to be informed. This is the interesting thing. I'm gonna shut up, but this tonight got me on the news. They were interviewing. Oh my goodness! I don't know if it was state or national, but it was. I think it may have been local. I can't remember, but they were interviewing the Board of Elections. And the guy was saying that if you're getting text messages encouraging you to register and vote, that's not coming from us. Now, think about the subtlety of that message. Here's the Board of Elections saying, if you get a text message encouraging you to vote, that's not coming from us. That's up to you. That's totally your choice. Now, that sounds like to me someone who doesn't want you to vote.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How are you going to be the Board of Elections and not encourage people to vote?
Right.
What's your agenda?
Exactly. What's your agenda?
What's your agenda?
Yeah. And also to those that feel their vote doesn't count, if your vote really didn't matter, would they fight so hard to keep you from voting?
Keep you from voting. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I know here in Michigan, because we have smaller counties, there have been people on the ballot that have won by one vote.
Yeah.
One vote matters. Because we have smaller counties. Maybe it's only 500 votes was cast, and one person only needed one more vote.
One vote.
Yeah, one vote.
Yep.
So it matters.
One vote.
You can sway it one way or the other, right?
Right.
So make sure your vote is heard.
Even in the tax code, Timothy,
Yeah.
if the threshold is $1, that
Yeah.
$1
Yep.
can put you in a higher tax bracket.
They
right?
sure can.
$1 under the
$1.
private 25 could move you from 15 to 30.
30.
Right? $1. So don't.
And we'll be asking Timothy, is there any way or have a deduction or something to reduce that dollar?
There'll be like a certain candidate say, I need to find 11,000 votes. Right? Can you find me one more dollar of credit tax return? I need one more. But yeah, it is serious, and it's just good for us to be involved in the program, right? Nita says that's your power, it's your voice, it's your vote, right?
Exactly.
One vote.
Sheila said one vote,
Mhm.
one vote, and like you said, if our voting wasn't important, number one, they wouldn't have kept it from us so long, and they wouldn't be trying to suppress it now. And I think one of the things that we are going to do is we're going to have someone to come on and talk about the suppression of voting and what can be done. And I think we have someone lined up from the state of Georgia.
There's an interesting thing going on in Georgia right now, too.
Yeah.
So we're working on that. We're working on getting that person on the show to talk about the efforts to suppress the vote. I think this has been great information, Timothy. Thank you again.
Absolutely.
Any last words?
Like I say, be mindful of when you cast your vote. Look at the entire picture. But I do encourage you to go vote. Take somebody else with you when you go to vote.
Pick up cousin in them, right?
Exactly.
That's right.
That's it right there. That's it.
Like
and to that point, the Voting Rights Act is something that has to be continually adopted.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
sunsets.
Exactly.
It's sunsets. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's sunset. And that was one of the interesting things that you brought up tonight that I didn't realize is that some of the corporate tax cuts do not have a sunset.
Right.
Some of the individual things we know sunset in 2026 if they don't do something different.
Mm-hmm.
So Timothy, you displayed a extreme knowledge tonight for our viewers. If they wanted to engage with your services, just tell them how they could do that.
You can reach me on my website at www.day1financial.com.
Day One Financial. Tell us how that name came.
We happened to be in Atlanta, and we were at the Level Up conference there, and there was a presentation done, and The Rock was talking about, how at the beginning of the year, oftentimes, people are making, New Year's resolutions, I want to lose weight, or I want to start saving, that type of thing. And oftentimes we start off the year good, but, I'll get to it one day.
Mm-hmm.
One day, which means that one day you just keep kicking the can down the road. Mm-hmm. So he said, let's flip that around. So this is day one. So in terms of our financial health, where you start isn't necessarily where you need to end. Mm-hmm. So make today your day one in terms of getting your finances in order.
Day One Financial. There he is.
Day One Financial.
There he is. Day One Financial.
Timothy
Day in the house.
Always a pleasure.
Yes, sir. And my baby said we need to mentor people to vote because the process can be intimidating for some.
Yes.
And
that is so true.
And so we need to shout it from the mountaintop. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. Let's make it happen.
All right, let's do it.
With that, Real Money Coach family, thank you for joining us. Please spread the word that we're talking about Project 2025 for another 4 weeks, and then we just want you to be informed. With that, God bless you. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Matter of fact, if you're not subscribing, go out there and subscribe it now. Invite others to do the same. My name is Tony Jackson, Real Money Coach, with my co-host Michelle Mitchell, Mitchell Consulting, and my boy Timothy Day, Day One Financial. Y'all have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.